Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, thanks. Thanks, Marina. So welcome to the second edition of the Learning Garage. This event is organized by IF Europe and garagErasmus with the support of ESN. And it's in the framework of the project Le Place of Erasmus, Le Plus d'Erasmus en français. And this is the second edition, and it has followed the first one that was held in October. And for this session, we will have 5 speakers on 5 different topics. And as some of you might know, this year is the 35th anniversary of the program Erasmus. So I will leave the floor to Fanny, Lutz, director of the IF Europe, and then to Nicola Filizola, the vice president of garagErasmus.
Okay.
Fanny, if you're here, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. So thank you and welcome to all of you to this 2-day seminar. I'm very pleased to be here today to launch this event. So yes, as Luigi said, I am the director of the IF Europe agency. You might not know us very well because we act as an intermediary between your institutions of origin and the European Commission, but I'll say some words about our work. So the AEF Europe is one of the Belgian national agencies in charge of implementing the Erasmus Plus program. And our agency is more specifically in charge of the education and training part of the program in French-speaking Belgium. So basically, we are here to promote the program, but also to support the potential candidates to submit an application and turn their idea into a project that could be financed through Erasmus+. And once the candidates become the beneficiaries and are granted with funds, we are still here to help them implementing their projects and to ensure their quality, durability, compliance with the rules from the European Commission, and so on. Finally, we are also in charge of disseminating the results of those projects and also to promote good practices among participants. We deal with many kinds of projects at the agency because Erasmus Plus is not only about mobilities, but it's also about partnerships, about cooperation between institutions, and also various kinds of actors, stakeholders from different countries. So this year, as Luigi said, we celebrate the 35th anniversary of Erasmus+. I would say that this program is without any doubt one of the biggest successes of the European Union. I noticed that many European students, European citizens get interested in the European Union through the Erasmus+ program. Today, I can say that if Erasmus Plus is such a success, it is also thanks to you, because during the last program, so from 2014 to 2020, over 20,000 higher education students in French-speaking Belgium benefited from this opportunity, either to study or to do a traineeship abroad. This experience abroad is usually a memorable one, sometimes even a life-changing experience. At a personal level, first, there is often a before and a after an Erasmus Plus mobility. This is something that makes you discover other aspects of yourself, that changes you, that makes you more confident, more flexible, and stronger in general. And on a more academic or even professional level, this experience is also a true asset for your curriculum vitae and your future career, not only because of the languages you learn, or maybe because of the classes you could attend abroad, and that makes you different from the other students studying the same fields in your country of origin, but also because I would say it helps you develop multicultural skills, develop your flexibility, your ability to adapt to various situations, and so many other things. However, we know that it's not always easy to know how to value all the skills you acquire during this experience in the best way. So this is why with this second edition of the Learning Garage, Le Plus d'Erasmus, we wanted to offer you the opportunity to take some advice on how to master your job hunting. And we are very happy to team up with garagErasmus, so the professional network of the Erasmus generation. I hope this seminar, this two-day seminar, will feed you with some ideas, with some tips and inspiration. And I already wish you a fruitful event and lots of success in your future career.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Fanny. I will leave the floor now to Nicola, if he is here. Nicola, can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
I can.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. And welcome, especially to this seminar, to this event, and a big thank to the Belgian agency for Erasmus. Thank you, Fanny, for your cooperation, for believing in what garagErasmus is doing in this field. Well, I am one of the two remaining co-founders of garagErasmus and the vice president. And to see this type of activities for me is great sense of pride, I have to say, because this is why garagErasmus was born in 2012. We were a group of people very much like you, with an idea in mind that to have Europe is much better not to have it. And I think this political sense of belonging is what fed us when we started this organization, this foundation, which was the first effort in Europe to create the first professional network of the Erasmus generation. As you know, we are celebrating 35 years of Erasmus program, which is not just a program to give money to people to give abroad, in my opinion, but is, in my opinion, a way to celebrate the European sense of belonging to our continent, to our region as a whole, which is much more important in these days than ever before. While Erasmus has given the possibility to, I think, 10 millions of Europeans to travel, to do experiences, to study abroad, which in lots of surveys from job hunters and companies are the new soft skills they're looking for. Perhaps in these 2 days, you won't find the exact answers to all your specific questions, but this is not the point. I think the point in this type of seminar activities is to come together with people from different cultural, from different mindset, and to understand how to do things together. That can be a project, that can be finding a new job. But if it doesn't happen on the spot, this is all things that you carry with you, you bring with you in your future, and that actually makes a difference, even if you stay in your country. Erasmus, there is a big mistake. Erasmus is not just for people who want to live and study abroad, but is also for people who, after this type of experience, want to come back to their countries and participate in the professional life with this set of new skills that otherwise they wouldn't have had in the past. I know that you have 4 different sessions from today and tomorrow. I really hope that this will enable you, not just with information, but also with some tools, concrete tools in your access to the job market, and also in understanding what makes you more applicable for the job market. I suspect that if you're here, it's because you speak some other languages, is because there is an interest in the international or in the internationalization of things. And therefore, I'm very happy to see you here today. I would like to wish you good luck. And I hope that with Fanny, we will organize more of these activities also in the future, but especially it is very important for us to get your feedback. So please, after this event, let us know how did it go, if this was meaningful, and also help us to make it better for the future. Voila, this was in a nutshell what I wanted to say, because it's more important what you will hear in the next sessions. I wish you to have a good continuation, and I pass the floor back to Luigi.
Thank you, Nicola. Now we have to wait some minutes for our next speaker, Julian Azzopardi, who will start the first session on how to adopt a new mindset while approaching the job market for the first time. And we will come back here at 5. So be punctual, and we'll wait for you with Julian. Hello again, everyone. So here we are for the first session of the Learning Garage. We are here with Julian. Can you hear us?
I sure can. Good afternoon, Luigi.
Okay.
Yes.
Good afternoon. So I'll leave the floor to Julian, who will start with this first session.
Okay, thank you, Luigi. Good to be here again. It's been a year now since we had our first sessions, and it's glad that you have called me back, because it seems like there's interest and value in what I was delivering. So it fills me with great pride and honor to be here again, and I look forward to an engaging session with everybody online. Even though I can't see you, I would like you to interact with me. We will have the chat, which will remain open, and I have engaged Luigi and his colleagues to monitor this, to see that if there are any questions or any comments that are worthwhile sharing with everybody, these will be brought to my attention. There will be an opportunity for Q&A halfway through, but also at the end for any direct questions. So great, yeah, a little bit of background about me from my end. I run a coaching and training outfit in Malta, and we work with executives at all levels in order to help their teams and themselves become better versions of themselves. So they can run the business and achieve better results, but they can also grow in their positions. And this becomes something extremely relevant for the reason why garagErasmus exists. Okay, a number of you are making their way into the world of work. Some of you are already in the world of work, maybe on a part-time basis, or maybe as interns. No matter whatever level of the career path you are in, there is always ways and means to improve. And the topic of today's presentation, today's talk, is about trying to use the way we think in a way to transform it into positive behavior. One thing that we need to keep in mind as potential employees, as current employees, is that our employers are always looking for us to try and be better at what we do, but not just specifically in our job role. Okay, our participation in the job market within our organization is not restricted to the type of job that we have on our job description or the employment contract. Our role goes well beyond that. And today we'll talk about several things that can help us take more control of this aspect. And if there's anything that you feel that resonates with you, or you feel that you want to call out something that might not resonate with you, please also add this to the chat, because this is extremely important for the development of the session. So let's get started. Hopefully, let's see whether we can make this work. No, sorry. Technology at its best. Oh, no. Okay, there we go. Apologies for that. It's always interesting to work with technology in a live session, so that's great. All right, so we're going to go through a couple of stages before we end up with some takeaways. I'm going to go back to the origins, back to the way we are made up, and why this this kind of setup influences the way we think. We will then move on into what reality is for us as individuals and how this experience is felt, lived, and influences the way we behave. The next stage of the presentation will be going from being self-aware and saying what we can actually develop and provide further on down the line. And we'll obviously close this with some takeaways, some mental takeaways, of course, so that you can go away and revisit this in a way that's going to add value to yourselves moving forward. Okay, so I think, therefore I am, a phrase which became famous by Descartes back in 1637. More specifically, when he came up with this, he was thinking about the art and the capability to doubt ourselves and to doubt whatever we have in front of us. Many of us live our lives going about doing our day-to-day stuff, right? Whether it's our task list we have in front of us, or being busy in our day-to-day. And the thought process of Descartes back then, when he came up with "I think, therefore I am," and further on down the line, "I doubt, therefore I exist," is actually bringing a conscious mind to whatever we are engaged in. Now, how many of us, hands up or type it down in the chat, how many of us actually forget to think, to doubt, because we become so busy going from one aspect of life to the other that we actually stop, we forget to stop and question the reasoning behind everything we're doing, whether or not we're doing things in the optimum manner, whether or not we are bringing our A game to what we're doing. And yes, I see Viviane who's put her hand up, and you know what? I've also been there. It happens to me every single day. And that's why sometimes we think we can multitask. That's why we think we can grab our phone and have a conversation whilst walking to our next meeting. But then we realize that we probably kicked something on the way, twisted to what that person on the phone was actually telling, engaged directly with the conversation we are having. Because our mind, as beautiful as it may be, is actually a very simple construct. Okay, so going back to the origin of us as human beings, all right, thinking is the first step to become better versions of ourselves. If during the course of the day we find that we do not have the space to process, to doubt, as Descartes intended, okay, to question, to query, to be curious or inquisitive about why we are doing things in a certain manner, we will never really fundamentally understand why the results we have achieved are what they are. It's the kind of sensation that we get that when we end up going back home at the end of our day, we slump on the sofa, we put on TV, and we just say, "Oh my word, what a day that was. It feels like I've achieved nothing." That's because we haven't given ourselves the space to process. Now, with the onset of COVID and the transition to remote workspaces, working from home, I myself today find myself working from home. And on this ground, I actually have to put a bit of a disclaimer that I am babysitting. So if you hear certain noises in the background, I apologize from that. But that's taught me so much. You know, in the beginning, we used to get so upset and frustrated and irritated and anxious and concerned that this is going to be disrupting my workday. Ultimately, what COVID has done, it has allowed us to be able to become more empathetic with ourselves, because we can actually think that, you know what? What's the benefit of me fighting it? And previously we used to fight it because it makes us so uncomfortable. So going back to the origin of our thought process is part of the critical importance for us to become better versions of ourselves. We need to give ourselves the space to think, because if we don't think, what differentiates us from my pet dogs? What differentiates us from the goldfish you have in your aquarium? What differentiates us from other living entities? And that is our power to be able to think and process stuff. So the first step that we need to keep in mind in order to adopt a new mindset is, hey, adopt a new way of thinking about your behavior. That's the first step. We need to be able to think, to reflect, and give ourselves the opportunity to do so in a productive manner. I don't mean about thinking on the way to another meeting. There you're just trying to download and put it in a box and say, right, this is something I need to do later. But guess what happens? We're so busy going from one meeting to another that box remains there. Something that we need to process, we add it to a checklist. And at the end of the day, we look at our task list and say, I've got so much more to do and I'm already exhausted. So the art of thinking is really going to enable us to help ourselves understand how we see things, but also potentially how others. Okay, we go through a certain process. We gather information from everything that is around us, our environment, right? Our own experiences, and we start to make these relate to our core fundamentals, our values and our belief systems, which we attach emotionally. We become emotionally attached to these things, and they start to influence our habits, our behaviors, and ultimately the results that we achieve. So if I'm constantly running between one place and another because I'm so busy, or because I become so overwhelmed with what I've got in front of me that I'm not necessarily able to understand what people are asking of me, it's because we get stuck in this vicious cycle. And it's because we want to ultimately validate the perception that we are living. Now, I'm sure a number of you have found themselves in certain situations whereby there's a bit of a conflict or a clash of opinion between themselves and their colleagues, between themselves and their family members. Well, this is purely because the way you see it is not necessarily and automatically the way everybody else sees it, because they are influenced by these same fundamentals. So it's very difficult then for us to reconcile between what we feel is right and what other people is telling us is wrong. Now, this is not necessarily the way we'd like to always go about our day. But if we take the time to think that how I see things is not necessarily how others thinks, all right, will enable us to become much more flexible and adaptable to the type of environment that we are dealing with. I'm sure that a number of you in the past have heard the term VUCA, V-U-C-A, being flaunted around. Now, VUCA stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Now, these are all things that COVID or massive change brings to our mental space, because it clashes with this particular cycle we have in front of us. It conflicts with the fact that certain things go against our value and set of beliefs. When before we used to feel much more comfortable working face-to-face in an office, the moment we have been told to work remotely, it kind of deters from those fundamentals that used to make working so effective and productive in people's minds, which means that ultimately the emotional connection I had with the workspace and the comfort I used to have by having somebody in front of me and being able to relate to them directly, to ask themselves directly, started to develop different emotional reactions. These influenced the way I behaved once I'm engaged in uncomfortable conversations. Now, certain uncomfortable conversations, or at least they used to be had on Zoom, using the platform that we have today. And we started to use a lot of these excuses, such as, you know, my internet connection, my camera is not working, in order to try and mask the ways to not reveal how uncomfortable we may be feeling. And this is translated into the behavior and the perception that people have of us in these particular situations. So it means that the results that we achieve are inhibited by these kind of influences. It becomes extremely important for us to take stock of this, because as our workspace environment evolves, and it's evolving at an increasingly rapid pace, we need to be able to understand this from the outset. And we'll talk about certain other blind spots that deter us from being able to be very adaptive a bit later on in today's session. But ultimately, what I want to try and bring across at this particular instance is that unless we take the time to think about these influences, we will always end up achieving the same type of results, because we're adopting the same type of patterns. So behavior is what we decide to showcase, but it doesn't mean that we are revealing everything that comes behind it. Okay, we unfortunately, as humans, it only takes us 7 seconds to judge, to build a perception, and therefore it puts up a lot of pressure on ourselves to constantly try and showcase the version that we want people to see. It's not, we're not always revealing everything. However, if we are careful enough to pay attention to certain things, we will start to realize that there are a number of other elements which are contributing to certain behavior. One of the things that we tend to mask as much as possible is what there is at the bottom over here. And if anybody doesn't see that clearly, that's fear. One of the things that our behavior tries to mask is fear, but it's also one of the most difficult things that we can mask, because fear is quite quickly perceived by third parties. And what happens when we are in a position of doubt, it starts to send messages to our brain, which means we are not focusing on the things we should be focusing on. An example: if I want to go from A to B, but I'm thinking intently of what I'll be saying once I get there, there is a very strong likelihood that I would either take the wrong route or potentially cause an accident because I'm not paying to attention. It happens because our mind goes on automatic and it tries to do the things that we know best in order to avoid feeling or showcasing fear. And some of the things that we need to keep in mind are what we call mental blind spots. The first of these blind spots is assumptions. We make assumptions that everybody understands us and we ultimately understand everybody. But the problem of this is that these assumptions are based on our perception. So it's not necessarily a true reflection of reality. Okay, assumptions make us draw conclusions, and most of the times, when void of facts, cause conflict. Because my reality, as we said earlier on, and your reality are completely different. By this, I mean the underlying context, but also the background that we bring to the table. All our assumptions are based on experiences that we store in our memory. And the moment we feel the need to come up with a point of view, an answer to a difficult situation, we go back to this memory and try and figure out, find things, research things that are most similar to this particular situation. But we tend to forget that there's one thing that is not constant, and that is context. Unfortunately, our brain eliminates context because the main thing it wants to do is eliminate discomfort, that sense of fear. So we very quickly stick to our position, which is our reality, and forget or oversee the fact that others in that conversation may not have that same background. And in the workplace, this happens a lot. We work with a lot of teams whereby one of the main issues that they have in communication, in achieving common objectives, is the fact that everybody's coming to a conversation from a different position. And as far as we keep to that position, it becomes very difficult to reconcile with each other, and becomes very difficult to focus on what becomes what should be the most important thing. And that's the outcome, the result we need to achieve. The third blind spot is empathy. When I'm stuck in my position because of that fear aspect, I lack empathy in understanding others' point of view. The lack of empathy is critical in everyday relationship. This is not a valuable lesson for your workplace behavior. This is a valuable lesson for every single day. I cannot build stronger relationships with my partner or with my colleagues or with my friends or with my family unless I am willing to empathize with their context, with their position. It becomes very difficult for me to build stronger relationships unless I am willing to step in that person's shoes and really, with intent and purpose, try to understand why they are speaking in that particular manner, why they are feeling that particular emotion, why they are considering that this is the best way to achieve that objective. Now, the thing with empathy is that we also need to be able to empathize with ourselves. Unfortunately, oftentimes, because we're so busy, because we're constantly trying to deliver the goods, be better at what we are doing, we tend to oversee the fact that we also need to take care of ourselves. And the space, the thinking space that we require is also there for us to take stock of how we are feeling. Am I actually performing at my best? And if not, ask yourself the question, why not? Because busyness overcomes our capability to self-assess and be self-aware of the messages that our mind, our brain is telling us. I'm not talking about self-pity, because that is extremely detrimental. What I'm saying is, let's play to our strengths and accept our vulnerabilities. When we accept our vulnerabilities through a self-awareness exercise, will allow us to address this by asking for help, by doing training, reading a book. It's that capability to be able to identify what we need to continuously sharpen that blade. The fourth blind spot is memory. We mentioned this briefly already, that our memory conditions the way we see the future. Now, how difficult is it to move forward if we're constantly looking backwards? I'm sure that if you've tried it, you found that it becomes very difficult to move forward, to take a step forward, if you're constantly looking over your shoulder. If you're constantly going back and rummaging through that memory suitcase of yours in order to try and come up with a reason or a counter argument to somebody's position. Memory is what tells us, be careful, remember the last time you engage in this kind of situation or conversation, how difficult you found yourself, right? We need to turn the tables on that. We need to use memory as a learning opportunity so that we can move forward by looking ahead with the learning experience of the past. Memory should not be there to hold us back, but memory should be there as the next step on top of which we need to build. Okay? Because otherwise, we'll constantly go back to that memory that keeps us where we are, our comfort zone, right? I do not want to go outside of that comfort zone. And finally, the fifth blind spot that affects the way we think and behave is meaning. Unfortunately, as much as I would like, the meaning that you decide to take away from today's session, today's conversation, is out of my hand. It's entirely in your hand. Because
Julian, sorry, we cannot hear you that well. I think we missed your connection. Hey, Julian, can you hear us? Okay, he's gone. We'll try to solve it as soon as possible and hope he's coming back soon. Okay, can you hear us, Julian? Your microphone is...
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect. We just lost you for like 30 seconds, I would say.
I'm very sorry about that.
Don't worry, no problem.
I don't know what happened because I'm connected directly to my modem and everything seems fine. But okay, I'll pick that up again.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, we're back, I hope. Thumbs up, Luigi, we're okay? You can see everything again?
Yeah, everything's clear.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you once again.
Oh,
All right. So as I was saying, no matter what I say, each and every one of you is going to interpret the words, the images, the whole session in a way that's going to give sense and meaning to them in relation to their value and belief system, to what they want to achieve, to their expectations, etc., etc. And this becomes extremely important to understand and take into consideration, because when we are trying to find a job, when we are talking to our colleagues, when we're looking at progressing in our career, it's not just about the way we see things. It's about a common understanding of what we want to achieve. So it becomes extremely important for us to take stock of these mental blind spots, because these becomes some of the determining factors that make the difference between achieving goals and completely missing the mark. For one, I have to admit, in the past and even today, sometimes these get to me. They get the better out of me, because not because I don't care, but because I'm so engrossed in what I'm doing, because I find myself so captivated in my work and wanting to deliver results for my clients. I really don't want to disappoint family and friends, and make sure that I am living up to my obligations and responsibilities, that sometimes I forget to see other people's point of view. Sometimes it is easier for me to rely on memory rather than be curious and actively searching for the reason. Because unfortunately, our brain has a default setting. And the default setting is our primitive brain. It is a brain that is completely distrustful of anything else than itself. And one of its main priorities is to avoid pain. This is an automatic brain because it requires least energy. So when you and I are in difficult situations, especially when it means having difficult conversations with colleagues, when we have to answer to our bosses about something that we didn't necessarily do within the time frame or 100% perfectly, okay? Our brain goes into auto mode. And we go to those positions that require least effort. That's why I said earlier on that sometimes I resort to memory rather than being curious, because curiosity lies in our human brain. Thinking happens here and not here. This is our primitive brain is automatic, but it's also very reactive. The thinking, the curiosity, the questioning happens in our human brain. So we need to give it time to respond. The automatic brain is very quick. That's why I said within 7 seconds, we'd already built a perception. Really and truly, it takes even less for us to determine whether we're going to use our primitive brain or our human brain. So we need to become very conscious of this process. And this is the reason why I'm putting effort in emphasizing this point, because it is our capability to move away from the automatic brain to the thinking brain that will help us achieve better results. Having said that, as we progress, we will start to realize that more of the stuff that previously will be in this brain are now moved to this brain. And that's actually good, because that means we are learning. Just like the example I used of walking and talking on the phone, we learned, it took us time and effort to learn how to walk, but now we don't even think about it. It's in our automatic brain. We get up and we walk. We just don't think about it. That's a process of learning. So we're constantly trying to update this primitive brain with new learnings that happens in the human part of our brain. But because ultimately the primitive brain is also there to protect us from pain, the moment we encounter or we cross a new path that makes us feel uncomfortable, it's going to start to hold us back. It's going to tell us to be cautious. That's why sometimes we find it very difficult to have difficult conversations with colleagues. That's why it's also very difficult for us sometimes to try and make sense between our priorities. Because on the one hand, we want things to be done automatically and very quickly. But on the other hand, we know that in order for us to achieve results, we need to put the effort into it. Which means we might not be able to go out with our friends. We might not be able to watch that TV series after work because I need to study, because I need to research. These are all things that we need to take stock of, that are going to enhance our thinking capability so that we can achieve better results down the line. Luigi, at this junction, are there any questions or comments that we'd like to bring into the conversation, or should I just power through?
No questions so far.
No questions so far. Okay. So, where does everything start off from? Everything starts from our roots, our value and belief system. What we hold dear will eventually characterize our behaviors, our actions, and deliver our results. So if we're not happy with the type of results we are achieving, we need to start first and foremostly by asking ourselves, what can I change in my behavior? If I haven't got that job that I really wanted, if I haven't managed to get that promotion, typically, because our primitive brain is there to protect us, okay, we start to find excuses. I wasn't given the right opportunity. I wasn't given enough time. That colleague of mine didn't give me the right information at the right time, etc., etc., etc. That's quite normal. Everybody does it. But we need to realize that most of the time, these are excuses. It's a hard truth. It's a slap in the face. But ultimately, the results we achieve are all results of our behavior. I cannot hold anybody else accountable for the results I achieve other than myself. Your colleagues, your friends, your family, they cannot hold you accountable. You can only hold yourself accountable for the results that you achieve. So if you're not happy with the results that you're achieving, ask yourself this question. Use this image to trace back the steps that you've taken. What action did I take that led to this? Was it influenced by a particular behavior? Was that behavior a result of a habit that I became comfortable with? Or was it a result of something I consciously decided to take on board? How was I feeling in that particular instance? Because we are emotional beings and our emotions influence us tremendously. So if I am in a bad emotional state at the moment, then it's obviously going to influence my behavior and my actions. I do not want you to think that you need to shut down your emotion. people who tell you you have to leave your emotions at home when you are at work are not necessarily always correct. And I have to be careful here, because there is certain reason to that type of talk. But what I actually want you to do is I actually want you to take stock of those emotions. What are your emotions telling you? Because probably your emotions are telling you that there is a bit of a conflict with what you've been asked to do or what you are doing and your value and belief system. Your value and belief system is what is going to motivate you and get you out of bed in the morning. If you're constantly going to a job that is making you unhappy, then ultimately it's going to show in the behavior and the results. We talk a lot about alignment in our work. There needs to be alignment from top to bottom. Because if you are completely engrossed and committed to achieving the results because they align with your value and belief system, then you know what? You are actually going to struggle less. You are actually going to find it much easier to progress in your workspace. If, on the contrary, the type of workplace environment that you are in conflicts very distinctly with your underpinning value and belief system, you're going to find going to work on a daily basis very, very uncomfortable. This is where your thinking hat needs to be put on and say, right, what needs to change? There's a level of acceptance, because there are certain things that you feel that might not be entirely in your control. But remember this, at every stage of the way, whether it's at stage 1, at stage 2, or at stage 3, you always have control over your decisions. You need to be able to accept the fact that if you want to bring about change, if you want to learn, then it needs to be a conscious decision. If you leave things to fate, you will always feel that you're missing out on something. And that's where the disconnect with your value and belief system starts to kick in again. I do not want this for you. I really want you to take control of your decision-making, because ultimately it's what is going to make you stand out in your workplace environment. And as we move along, this is where I really want you to start to hone in now. This is the phase where we start talking about our self-assessment, okay? What I can bring to the workplace. This diagram is based on Patrick Lencioni's work, specifically on his teamwork trifecta. In a workplace, you have to be able to work in a team, but ultimately you need to see whether or not you are bringing the type of skill sets that one needs in that team. And they break down the qualities that people are looking for in a workplace environment to 3 simple words: humility, hunger, and smartness. How do you fare on these 3 axes? How humble are you? How hungry are you to succeed? And how smart are you to get there? The reason why we need these 3 things, because if we end up eliminating smart from the equation, then what happens? You become an accidental mess maker, because you're humble, you're a good person, you're genuine, and you're also hungry, but you eliminate smart because you're not thinking, because you're not processing it, okay? You become an accidental mess maker, which in the long run is going to start creating doubt within your workspace, whether you are actually the right person for the job. On the other hand, if you have hunger and you are smart, but you are not humble, you can be labeled as the skillful politician. somebody who may not always be trusted, someone that people are going to be wary of. And we definitely don't want that. Then in the third case, if you are humble and smart, but you're not hungry, you might be considered to be that lovable slacker, the guy or girl that everybody likes, okay, because you're intelligent and you're very grounded, you're very down to earth, but it's very difficult for us to move forward because you lack that sense of urgency, that hunger, that desire to progress, to move forward. The ideal team player has all three. So a question to you, and I'd like you to put it into the chat. Which is your strongest point and which is your weakest? If I have to go first, like I would always like to say, probably my biggest weakness is hunger. I find it very difficult to move out of my comfort zone of being grounded and always trying to do the right thing. Okay, my lack of hunger is what maybe allows my competition to get into my space, because I find it very difficult to be forceful on people when trying to pitch my services, for example. But ultimately, being humble and smart aligns much more with my value set. So yes, occasionally I really need to exit my comfort zone and focus a lot more on that. Any other comments that we have? Has anybody, Luigi, has anybody put any? Do we have any comments coming into the chat? Weaknesses, strengths?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet, but
Viviana, thank you, Viviana. Hunger is one of my main improvement areas. Absolutely. And the great thing about being able to do this self-assessment is because we need that. That's what allows us to take our next step. Okay. The difference between smart and hunger. Absolutely. I can explain that once again. Being smart means you have the thinking hat, you have the capability to figure things out, to do things in the right manner. Okay. Being smart means you are looking at opportunities and options in order to do your job in the best potential manner. It's the willingness to exit that comfort zone and find the solutions that need to be found. Hunger is that drive, that motivation, that desire to go out there and challenge yourself, to really exit your comfort zone and seek the opportunity. Hunger is about, to put it in probably a bit more of an understandable word, is that ambition. What's the ambition? The drive, okay, that we are looking for, that really motivates us to go beyond, okay, to deliver results, to achieve success. We need all three, but we need to be able to ask ourselves this very first question, okay? Where am I now? Where do I need to go? What can I develop? Because believe you me, these are the characteristics that employers are looking for. Okay. The question I want to ask is, how well do you present the three values? And more other than that, which value do I need to develop the most? And Ines, yes, hunger might be the biggest weakness, because we do get lost along the way. Absolutely. How to get the good info? That's quite right. So I quit the research. And that's exactly what your primitive brain is telling you to do, because it's uncomfortable. But that's exactly why we need to counter this. We actually need to stay in that stress zone, okay, that area of growth, because that's where we're going to bring about the greatest results. And ultimately, you need to think that just because you can't do it on your own doesn't mean you failed. You need to be able to look beyond it and say, right, you know what, if this is my stress zone, if this is something that I find difficult, who can I ask to help me? Okay. So what else can we bring? We can bring 6 what we call geniuses. And again, this is taken from the book of Patrick Lencioni. There are 6 geniuses that every workspace is looking for. And these traits you all have in greater or lesser degrees. So if ever you during your interview with a potential employer is going to ask you, right, what genius, what skill, what strength are you going to bring? You can ask yourself whether you bring one of these 6. The art of wonder, the art of being able to ponder the possibility of greater potential opportunity. That's a great strength that every workplace requires. Because if I don't have somebody who can do that, it's going to be extremely difficult for my organization to grow. And it's going to be extremely difficult for my organization to do things differently. So are you a wanderer? Are you somebody that can add value by trying to think of the possibility of greater potential? The second type of genius, the inventor. Somebody who has the gift of creating original and novel ideas and solutions. Every workplace needs this. Do you have this? Is this something you need to work on? Because rest assured that if you can bring an element of innovation to my workplace, I'm going to look at you with much more purpose and intent. The gift of discernment, using your intuition and your instinct to evaluate ideas and situations. Because you may not be a wanderer, but if you have instinct, if you have great intuition, that is something that is going to allow us to make progress at a much quicker pace. Are you a galvanizer? Are you the organization's cheerleader? We need people to help us rally the troops together so that when times are tough, we know that there's somebody who's there to support us, who has our back, who can inspire and organize others to take action. This is a great skill that a lot of companies do not have, and a lot of companies are seeking desperately. Because when things are changing so rapidly, we need to know that we have somebody who's going to go out there and who's going to be able to rally everybody behind our objective. Then we need the enabler, the person who's going to support people, who's going to encourage people, and who's going to assist people, all right, to get an idea and a project through. Enablement is a gift, is a working genius that every employee should look at developing. This comes with a lot of empathy, because others become the most important part of the equation. And finally, the genius of tenacity, the gift of being able to push projects and tasks to completion. There's always that one person that has the knack to be able to push something through. The war horse, that person who's really going to roll their sleeves up no matter what in order to make sure that we hit that deadline. How best can I contribute to my future workplace? By adopting these, by implementing, by internalizing these working geniuses. These are qualities that businesses today are really, really looking for. And this is where I want to ask you guys, can you contribute to your workplace with one of these geniuses? And it's okay if you have one, because that's going to be your great skill set. That's going to be your main selling point, your unique selling point. But it doesn't mean that you abandon the rest, because ultimately we need to try and complement. But it doesn't matter if you excel in one of them or in two of them, because that is where you are going to contribute the most in your organization. and you can ask others to help you with the others. Finally, some tips on how to change our thinking process, because if we change our thinking process, we will be able to really harness the working geniuses, become that ideal team player that is going to allow us to stand out from the rest of the crowd who are applying for that same job, who are looking for that same promotion. The first and foremost, this comes from Vistage International, global network of CEO and executive support and coaching. These are the top 7 laws for great leadership. A great leader rejects shortcuts. If it's a shortcut, it's temporary. It's a temporary fix. At some point in time, you have to go back and fix. Do not take the easy way out. The easy way out is going to bite you back in the backside. Create space to work on the business, not in it. This is the thinking space, all right? This is your thinking space. Find that thinking space. Take the helicopter view. Detach yourself from busyness, not business, okay? From busyness in order to be strategic, to be smart. The third thing, challenge your perspective. Seek new points of views. Meet new people, because that curiosity is going to help you ask questions on how you can improve, but also how you can get there quicker and better. Apply discipline to decision-making. Do not shy away from taking tough decisions. It's okay if you make mistakes. Become comfortable with failure, this concept of failure that, especially in Europe, holds us back, especially in relation to places like the United States. They have a great relationship with failure. If you go to a bank, the first thing they ask you in the United States is, how many times have you failed? I want to know that you've learned. In Europe, it's the complete opposite. You failed, I'm sorry, you're blacklisted. Apply discipline to your decision-making process, because it helps you start a new habit, okay? Become comfortable with it. Find a trusted guide. It's okay to say, I don't know, but find someone you can trust to guide you in the right direction. And rise by helping others. Use the beauty of empathy for you to become a better version. Because if you help people, others are more likely to help you, okay? These are the 7 laws that I would really like you to embrace in your pathway towards becoming better versions of yourselves, because you're going to change the way you think, because you're going to harness those characteristics and traits of that ideal player, and it's going to help you develop those working geniuses that workplace environments are so desperate for today. Before we pause on this takeaway slide, Luigi, are there any questions? People can ask directly or put them in the chat. If not, we can wrap up.
No, for the moment we don't have any question in the chat.
There are no questions in the chat. Okay, unless somebody wants to ask any questions. The takeaway from today's session is value your strengths. Okay, develop that strong spine, that skeleton that is going to allow you to use the past as a learning step towards embracing your future and moving towards the future. Okay, be curious, ask questions, stop and think. There's an exercise that we use with a lot of companies whereby we ask them to list things they need to stop, things they need to start, and things they need to continue. Stop being busy. Start being curious. Start carving out space in your agendas in order to think, because this is going to enable you to change your behavior, take better actions, and be happier ultimately, because it aligns with your value and belief systems. I think I have said enough. It's been an intense hour, a lot of information. It's passed very quickly. I apologize once again for those maybe technical issues. But if there are any questions that people might want to send to me afterwards, my details are included in this presentation, and they are also on the screen. Unless, Luigi, there are any questions from your side or from any of the participants.
Yeah, from my side, Ines is asking if you have any books or links for helping in her research on this topic.
There are two of the most important books that I think influenced me are Start With Why by Simon Sinek. Great book about aligning purpose with behavior and results. So a foundational book from my case. Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. All about the way our mind processes information. And there are so many. But I think those are the two main things that really stand out. Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. How our primitive mind, that defensive mind, stops us from exiting our comfort zone because it doesn't like being told it's wrong, or doesn't like making mistakes. So those I'd say off the top of my head, three really important books and extremely valuable. But also anything by Patrick Lencioni, The Ideal Team Player, we mentioned it. The 6 Working Geniuses, that book was published, I think, last year or the beginning of this year. Those are all going to help you take on those characteristics, those traits that employers today are really looking forward to see in each and every one of us.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Ines is also thanking you.
My pleasure.
Thank you for your precious insights and for your contribution. I hope we'll have you on board for the 3rd session. We don't know yet when it will be, but maybe in October, we'll let you know.
Absolutely.
And I propose we'll have a 5-minute break before Davide takes over. So yeah, let's meet at 6:08.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Apologies, Davide, for encroaching on your time.
Don't worry. Thank you.
Have a great session, everybody. Thank you very much.
Okay, so hello again, everyone. Welcome to the second and last session of today. With Davide, we'll see the secrets and the insights of how to approach and the job market and where to find a job. So I will leave the floor to Davide, who will be with us for 1 hour.
Thank you, Luigi, and thank you everybody for joining this webinar. Can you hear me well, first of all?
Yes.
Excellent. So my name is Davide Capecchi, and I am here to try, first of all, to tell you a couple of stories. One will be the story of me as a job seeker, and the second will be a story of me as a recruiter. Hopefully then the third story will be told by you by living it, searching for your first job and being successful through it. I understand you've gone through already a number of webinars, a number of inputs from other experienced and more experienced than me for sure contributors. So again, I really hope that the key of this webinar will be hearing a real story by a real person who has done the same that you have done and not that far in the past. I would like to use Mentimeter. I hope you're familiar with it. So I will try to share with you, if I'm allowed to, this presentation. So can you see this this first page?
Yes.
How and where to look? Excellent. So I would like to go to the next page now, which is the page with instructions. So you can either connect to menti.com and enter the code that you see here, or you can use the QR code that you see on the right. You can square it with your mobile phone or with a computer, and then you will be redirected to the page. If you can please click on this feedback on the bottom right corner of the page, I'm also then able to see if you are really visualizing this page and if you're able to interact. I will give it 30 seconds more to this because our time is precious. Your time is precious today. We are already running late, and I really would like to condensate the webinar in the time available. So we already have 7 feedback. I'll give it 10 more seconds, and I will keep anyway the number 37493995 that can always be accessed through menti.com. Very well. So let's proceed now to the next slide. As I mentioned, the contents of this webinar will be really about listening to my story as an applicant, as a first-time job seeker, and then as a recruiter, and then we will talk about your story. And we will talk about your story in 2 different ways. First, we will look at the very strange tool, recruitment tool, that you might be surprised to hear about. It's called spontaneous applications. And the second tool will be LinkedIn. And I'll try to give a look at LinkedIn with an unbiased look. And I will again tell you my story as a recruiter and as a job seeker. Now, I would like to look at the first, again, at the first, let's say, interactive opportunity. So can you please go to Mentimeter and to then write in few words what your expectations are from this webinar. They should appear as fast as you write them in Mentimeter. Please type. You have up to 3. You don't have to write 3. Exactly. Very well. Thank you. Tips finding a new job in the EU, gain confidence. Okay, EU is a good point. Thank you for this. I take it as you mean EU institutions and not EU as a country. So I will also give you a couple of tips in the EU. Finding international jobs. Job interviewing. Okay, this might be a bit beyond our scope, but I will tell you something about it during the part about the application. Writing a CV. Okay. Where to apply for what? Okay. Boosting my job research. I would like to find a job, or I would like a job, gain confidence. Okay, excellent. International jobs. Very well. Okay, excellent. So this is already a good amount of feedback. 5 more seconds. If anybody else would like to add. Okay, gain knowledge. Very well. I think I appreciate that gain knowledge comes to the center because this is what I can most offer to you today. Knowledge, insight, and hopefully better ways of looking at your LinkedIn page and the job application. I might not be able to tell you more about writing a CV because I understood from our organizers, garagErasmus, that this was already dealt with earlier. So I would not. Is that correct, Luigi?
Yeah, it will be. We will have a specific session tomorrow with
Exactly.
with Marco Levi at
Okay.
6, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, perfect. So we will focus exactly on that story. Excellent. So now you all know what is a spontaneous email application. So it means that you take the initiative, you have a list of employer, a list of potential employers. You are interested in having a job for them, but so you write an email and this person doesn't answer to you. So what would you do? Okay. Option 1 is I give up because I do not want to bother anymore. The second, I send the same email again. The third, I forward my previous email with a gentle reminder. And then I send an angry email complaining that the person didn't answer to me. So we have 14 answers. One of them is I send the same email again. And the 13th said I forward my previous email with a gentle reminder. The answers are coming. Also bring your attention to this small icon, which is at the bottom right hand of your screen, which is about asking questions in real time. So you're always able to ask a question in real time. And at the moment, there are no questions from the audience. So please feel free any moment during my presentation to ask a question there. I want to apologize with Luigi. He asked me before how I wanted to have this webinar, whether I want to ask questions in the chat. Asking questions in the chat is always possible. So the two things do not exclude each other. You can raise your hand, you can ask questions in the chat, and then we deal with it. So it's a bit of a surprise also with Luigi, just because I had more time today to prepare this specific presentation, and I hope it don't disrupt him too much.
Yeah, it's okay, no problem.
Great. Okay, so before we go to the next slide, and yes, 13 persons were right. Forwarding your previous email with a gentle reminder is the right answer. So I will stop for a second the share screen and get back to you as a presenter. When I was 28-ish, I was president of an international organization called the Erasmus Student Network. And I had a huge previous experience in training. I used to work in the US as an assistant professor, as an assistant dean on a project for the summer. I was also organizing different activities and different events in Milan. I was speaking already fluently 3 languages. LinkedIn was something different 14 years ago. It existed, but it was something that was used completely differently. And I wanted a job. So, then I started looking in a webpage, which is called eurobrussels.com. It's a website that you may want to look at if you're interested in international opportunities. It's where, together with the Euroactive, all organizations here in Brussels, in the Brussels bubble, but not only, also in London, in Amsterdam, in Berlin, in Paris, in all those cities where you have international organizations or you have organizations that are seeking for internationally minded applicants are posting jobs. So it still exists and it's still super valuable. I really recommend you to look at that also. When you ask me if I, as a recruiter, would post, firstly, my job advertisement, even if it costs 1,000 euros, 2,000 euros for having valuable inputs, my first answer will be eurobrussels.com, and the second will be Euroactive. So please give a look at that. Well, when I was a job seeker after this experience as a president, I was searching for jobs on eurobrussels.com, and I sent maybe 200 applications to those jobs, and I had already experience. Well, I received very little feedback. Why? Because, and this my recruiter, the recruiter in me comes in. When I was recruited afterwards for, as was Secretary General Director of an NGO based in Luxembourg, I posted once on Eurobrussels a job advertisement for a job of member service coordinator, which had the minimum legal salary in Belgium at that time, in Luxembourg at that time, that was, I think, was 1,800 net for an unmarried person based in Luxembourg. Yes, Luxembourg is a great place to apply for having good salary. You know how many answers I received? I could add the slide here. Well, you do your reckoning. I received 380 applications, and we were a small organization, so it was my first post to be recruited after a crisis of the organization. So I had 380 applications and CVs and cover letters to go through for a job that would entail the minimum salary in Luxembourg. It was a hell of a job, but you already understand how complex it is for a recruiter to go through those applications. Now, at the end, I did recruit one person. So one person got the job. It was one person out of 380. Do you think I had many good applicants? Yes. Do you think I, at the end, had 20 excellent applicants? Yes. Do you think at the end I had 10 applicants? All of them would have made an excellent job? Yes. I had 10 people that if I had the money, I would have hired all of them. And I was sure that all of them would have made a great job. So what made a difference? Unforeseen factors. But part of these factors were, for me, of course, how the person went through their application and so on and so forth. First of all, one of those persons had sent me a spontaneous applications just 1 month before I had the recruitment done. And this email came exactly in the moment in which I was undergoing the recruitment. And the name of this person and their CV stayed in my mind and stayed in my mailbox. Now, I had an imprinting from that. Again, this is to say that this person, was it favored or not? I don't know. But when I went through their applications, to the 380 applications, and I had limited time to go through them, I saw one of these persons and I saw one of these names, and one of these names was the same person that hands me a spontaneous application 1 month before, that I had answered politely to by saying that, sorry, we don't have an opening now, but it will come soon. I will let you know. This person kept searching. This person found, again, the job call that we, the job advertisement that we said. This person got back to me. And to me, this was a sign. To me, it was a sign. This person is really interested in my organization. This person is really not a waste of time if I shortlist them and I call them for an interview. So this don't underestimate the value of sending spontaneous applications. It also happened to me in the past 6 months as a Secretary General. I received spontaneous applications for different jobs, and I always keep an eye on them. I always save them in my mailbox for further follow-up. Now, if I don't have time to follow up on those applications, doesn't mean that I haven't seen them, doesn't mean that you wouldn't be, as spontaneous applicants, be taken into account in the future. So please, my first advice as a recruiter, and also looking at my past as a job seeker, I will tell you in a second, do send spontaneous applications and do follow up by forwarding your previous email after 2 weeks, after a month, with a gentle reminder thing. And as a recruiter, I tell you, if I don't answer at the first, I might not answer to the second, but I do keep it into account that the person is following up and is interested, and the person didn't send 100 applications randomly without even remembering who the person was sending it at. This is the corollary. When you send a spontaneous applications, my advice is don't send it randomly, but keep track, keep a database, keep an Excel sheet to which organization you are sending your CV and when, and then follow up in due course with that. It's called stewardship, and it's very important. And believe me, an employer does it. Now, getting back to my story, when I was a job seeker, I sent many job applications, like maybe 40, 50, and that's from some of these organizations. I got feedback immediately. From some of these organizations, I didn't get any feedback, but I did send spontaneous applications also beyond that. And finally, I got a job from an organization for which I sent the spontaneous applications. And at the same time, I sent an application that I had published on this Europe Brussels. Now, I see there are 2 questions. I would like to check them. It is, sorry, can you repeat again the website to apply for international job? Yes, it's called eurobrussels.com. Maybe Luigi, can you type it in the chat?
I can write it in the chat.
Thank you so much. It's eurobrussels.com, and the second one is euractiv.org. You can Google for them. And the second question is, so this is answered. I would like to answer option 3, but it is usually be option 1. Any tips on how to send a polite reminder would be appreciated. Absolutely. Thank you for your question. A very nice and polite email that I received was, dear Mr. Capecchi, dear Mr. Capecchi, I hope you had the opportunity of reading my email as of below. I would like to stress that I am interested in a job for your organization. I'm available for you, and I am available for a follow-up call at your convenience, or a Zoom call at your convenience at this email address or at this telephone number. So this is the kind of email that very short, very to the point, not angry, neither, let's say, sugarcoating the fact that I haven't answered the previous email. It's a fact, so we shouldn't hide from that. But restating your interest in the job and demonstrating thereby that you're following up on the spontaneous applications, saying that you're still available, that you're still interested. This is your telephone number. After this second message, I did offer a person an internship. It was not a job because we didn't have, but it was a paid internship. And that was also very interesting, a very interesting option for the person. The person considered, we had an interview, and then it's history. So this was the first part. Now, I would like now to close this point of the spontaneous applications. I have another question. How many time to wait? How much? Yeah, basically the question is how long to wait before sending a polite reminder after the first email would you advise? So my advice is anything between 2 weeks and a month is a reasonable time. Because meanwhile, the person might have gone beyond the peak in their mailbox. The person reading the email, after 2 weeks, the person might have gone out of a holiday leave, or 2 weeks in this case is a reasonable amount. With anything, I would say between 2 weeks and 1 month. I would not go for a third reminder, though. I would just send one gentle reminder, unless you see that there is a job opening inside the organization, and then you link your previous reminder to the job opening, and you say at the third, let's say in the third gentle reminder, I saw meanwhile that you had this opening. I would like to stress my interest in the job, and I am therefore applying for that job as indicated. Please find attached my CV and my motivational letter. Believe me, you will have much higher chances to stand out than the other 300 candidates that send that. It's also natural, why you stand out, because if you really took your time to search for an organization, to write to the right person, to follow up, to keep a database, and then to search for the organization again, you see that this organization has an opening, you send another email, so it means that you really care for that organization. So it is not really tokenistic and unauthentic approach. Okay, I hope I was clear enough. There are no questions now from the audience. I would like to move, since we have a bit than 20 minutes more, to LinkedIn. If there are no further questions, I will share with you my screen again. And actually, no, I will not share my screen. I will ask you to go to Mentimeter again, and we will move now to the next point. Now, if you are going to Mentimeter now, you will see at the code 37493995, you will see different options. So the question would be, what do you think that LinkedIn is? You think is a social media, a job seeking tool, a resume? It's giving you the possibility of doing professional showcasing, is a networking tool. It is a learning tool. It's all of the above. I saw there is also a question. I will address it soon. So please take your time and answer. Okay, so we have networking tool is the most. Then you have professional showcase, is a job seeking tool. I have 14 answers at the moment. Let's see if more are coming. 15, 16. Excellent. Let's wait maybe like 10 more seconds. And again, I understand that is a question asked. I will get back to that very soon. So it seems that networking tool is the winner, followed by job seeking tool and professional showcase. I tell you, in my experience, it's a tricky, but it's all of the above. It's both the networking, it's all at once, sorry. It's networking tool, it's a job seeking tool. It's providing you opportunities for professional showcasing. It's also a way of keeping an updated CV as a resume, in other words. It's also a social media tool, unfortunately or fortunately, because it gives you the opportunities to interact with a social network, and it's also a learning tool because it offers a number of opportunities of online learning, of e-learning, through webinars and through different other tools that are available either for free, or if you purchase some specific packages, also by paying. Now, how the LinkedIn is used, it really depends very much on your needs as a job seeker or as an employer. This is technology, right? It's never one thing or another. It's a tool to reach a goal. In some parts of your professional life, it might be more interested as a networking tool, and we'll spend a couple of words on that because I do appreciate that this is the top priority for you, at least that's how it's appearing from Mentimeter, but also as a job seeking tool. Which it is, of course, in some periods can be that priority. And I understand in this priority, in this moment for you of your life, it is your top priority. So I would like to also spend a couple of words on that. It is definitely a professional window. So we will, if you excuse the arrogance, I will show you my LinkedIn page. And I also, by the way, would like to spend an applause for Almaz because he's one of the participants in this webinar. So thank you, Almaz, for reaching out to me before this webinar, and to thank you again for adding me in your network to your network before. These are the kind of, so Almaz is a participant, she did that before, and these are the kind of gestures that are very important. You have a webinar with a person who is going to talk to you on how to increase your chances of getting a job. This person is giving to you the opportunity to discuss about the LinkedIn. You search, you did your math before, you search for this person, you add this person with a line explaining why you're adding them. You send the follow-up message. I'm sure, Almaz, you were not looking at me as a potential recruiter. I don't have job openings in April now, but you use the LinkedIn as an opportunity for networking. And I think this should be done all the time by all of you if you're really consistent in your need for searching a job. So again, congratulations, Alma. Thank you for adding me to your network and for following. It's also a way for keeping your resume updated. Also, me as a Secretary General, I keep it as a person who has a job as a director. I have a career. I'm not searching for my first job. But all the more, I keep my LinkedIn profile updated because of opportunities that might arise, because my organization might go in a crisis, because I might screw it up with my board and they want to fire me from one moment to another, which is much easier, by the way, for executives than for first-time seekers or for first-time jobs holders. So I might be in the immediate need of activating my network for getting a job if I keep my LinkedIn profile updated. Even if I'm a LinkedIn newbies, my chances for getting a job are much higher. So I already mentioned social media learning tool. It's also an opportunity. It's a great opportunity, a great window to be indeed showcasing your professional expertise in different pages, in different parts, and in different blogs. Needless to say, it's a job seeking tool, and we will see briefly how to do that. And it is an incredible opportunity for doing networking. I will show you in a second how to do that. Now, I would like to go to the next question that I would ask you on Mentimeter. If you go through the sections of LinkedIn, and after this, we will look at my LinkedIn. Which ones do you think are the most important areas for first-time job seekers? Between strongly disagree and strongly agree, would you please go to Mentimeter, to menti.com, by using the code and indicating which ones you think are the ones that are the most relevant for first-time job seekers. So the poll is open. I will show you again the what we are talking about here. Okay, great. So just to stress on it again, the code is 37493995. Actually, could you also see the answers? No, so let's look together at the answers. I will show you the answers. But for some reasons, I cannot share the screen. Full screen, there we go. I got it. Now, you should be able to see the answers. So the most important areas of LinkedIn for you is, I mean, you strongly agree, most of you mostly strongly agree on skills, then goes to experience, then languages, then intro and background, very low about the areas about, and very low about interest. Okay, I sort of agree with you, but in this part, I really strongly suggest you to work on your about page. So looking at your feedback, the one I disagree the most is the part on about. Why? Because I'm showing to you in a second by showing to you my LinkedIn profile. Now, can you see this? Can you see my LinkedIn profile?
Yes.
Yes, excellent. Thank you for the feedback. This is how I see my LinkedIn profile. I will do a trick in a second and show you how you should see now my LinkedIn profile. I don't think my LinkedIn profile is perfect, but I did do some research for preparing that, and I did follow a number of training courses and webinars for that. You would say, why did you follow so much? Why did you invest so much time for that? Exactly because it was a point in my career in which I wanted to follow up and to have an executive job. And I was really investing time in this. And believe me, I got my new job thanks to LinkedIn. Now, I got my new job not thanks to LinkedIn as a job seeker, but I will tell you the story in a second. So please flag the fact that I got my new job through LinkedIn. This is how you see my LinkedIn profile. Please bear with me. I will show you briefly how you see it and why I disagree with your statements of before. First of all, it's extremely important to choose a background image that is giving an impression of what you think is most relevant that the potential employer or networking, let's say, person has to see about you. So I chose this. How do you do that? There are a number. I mean, you can invest $1 or $2 in one image. So I did invest, I think, $5 for this image to buy that from Shutterstock. So there is this website, it's called Shutterstock. They also have the possibility, they have a number of images for free that are available for free. But believe me, if you invest this few euros, less than a coffee in some countries, for sure, less than a beer and a glass of wine in many, you might have an image that makes you stand down. At the end, you are investing for your whole career. If you're really having a good website, a good LinkedIn profile, you will, I'm sure, break even very quickly with these $3 or $5 that you invest in the Shutterstock image. And the good thing is that they help you. You know, you go on Shutterstock, you select a word or a keyword, and then you have a list of potential suggestions for images. Do that. It's really paying off. Choose a background because this is the first thing that will catch the attention of a recruiter. It would be interesting now to hear from you, maybe in the chat, what do you think that this background image gives you as a first impression? So what is the imprinting that this background image gives you? So please try to think about it while I go through it. And if you want, just write it in the, if I was two persons, I would have another slide now that I haven't prepared on what is your immediate feedback, but just think about it and write it in the chat. Now, the profile picture, please have an image which is you and only you, and an image taking into account that LinkedIn is a professional website. So it's not necessary that you smile if you're not a smiling person. There are some cultures in which smiling is considered mischieving. So they think that if a person is smiling, is trying to buy you out and is hiding something. Unfortunately, it's true. This is the reality. So you need to be very neutral culturally. Depends also on the job and on the area you want to search for a job. But do invest also potentially money for having one professional photographer making for you a professional picture. This picture of mine, it was taken by a professional photographer. I was at an event and this person was around, and I asked if he could give me as a favor, and this person was already in a way there, so they said yes. And you can already see that the quality was much higher than other pictures. So do invest in your picture. Then there is this part which is about briefly about who you are. So now I opted to a creator page, and this has hashtags. These are very important. Why? Because recruiter will also find you on the basis of the hashtags that you write here. Now, another thing I want to point out is that there are two different categories of LinkedIn users: those that have 500 or less connections, and those who have 500 or more connections. It's extremely important that you try to get to this threshold of 500. Go to your schoolmates, go to your co-employees, go to your friends, add, I don't know, add the Pakistani owner of the shop at the corner, just try to get to this 500. I wouldn't say buy them, but try to, because then you will be much higher in the algorithm when recruiters search for you. Followers are much less relevant, but they are also relevant. So whenever you're trying to increase your presence on the media, try also to have as many followers as possible. Now, activity is also important. Try to be active, not every day, not every week, but try to be active and try to make meaningful posts. These will receive a higher, if you have a meaningful post, which is relevant for participants, for potential members of LinkedIn, you will have also a higher position in the algorithm when participants, LinkedIn employers are potentially searching for you. Now, let's go to the about. You see, it appears to you as this, just 2 lines. It looks very boring. It looks very, very narrative. It's really not really eye-catching. It is long. It is, but then go and see what is your public profile. This is what is my public profile, and this is what people that are not part of a network see. You see, this is, if you want to, if you search for me and if you are not connected, this is what you will see. You will see the background, you will see my picture, you will see this, and then you will see all this long text in my about section. So this is also the basis on which recruiter will find you if they input keywords. So it is extremely important that you choose very well what to say about you in this part and how you say that. I absolutely encourage you to use all the text space available here in the about part, because this will be the basis for which algorithms will choose who to show to potential recruiters. So absolutely, I can't recommend you enough how you write this part, and write it all until the end. I hope I was clear enough to show you why this is an important thing to do. I strongly recommend you to start with your purpose. Employers are purpose-oriented, so like to have purpose-oriented applicants. Employers, especially in my sector, but also in other sectors and more in the 21st century, would like to have employees that are value-driven. Then employers would like to understand more about what you can give to the organization. This is a sort of a generic cover letter, which is your showcase, your main showcase for potential employers that are reaching you out on LinkedIn. Start with your purpose. Show that you're purpose-oriented. Talk about what your values part, and then talk about your specialties part. It is a very useful part, and put a bar like this and put a separation, go in the order of importance, but also adapt them to the different periods of your professional life and adapt them to having an eye on your potential recruiter if you're applying for specific jobs. So this is not a sclerotic page that you, a fixed page that it is as it is forever. If you're applying for, let's say, 10 jobs, of which 4 are in a specific area, let's say, for instance, I don't know, education, or in a part which is about philanthropy, or it's jobs that are about fundraising. So focus your about area, put more relevance, place more relevance to the fundraising or cross-cultural management if you apply for a specific job in this area, that are the ones that you're applying for most recently. If you're applying just for one job that you really would like to have, then rework this part to catch the attention of a potential recruiter in that job, especially if you're going in next steps of the application process. So if you're shortlisted, if you're going to an interview, if you're going to be shortlisted for the 2 last interviews, do everything you can for making sure that this part is telling the person that are giving you an interview or they're shortlisting you that you are the right person for this job. Then talk about values, talk about specialty, talk about how you bring success, talk about your passion, talk about your accomplishments in a short showcase. This is again what recruiters, both online and that are searching on your CVs, will search for. I hope I convinced you enough to focus on this boring part that we all neglect. I also was neglecting it before. Another reason why you should do that is because if you are then preparing your CV, you can simply copy and paste this part and copy and paste part of this to your CV. If you're preparing a motivation letter, you can also copy and paste part of that and put it in the motivation letter. Of course, it has to be reworded, adapted to the new employer. But if you keep this part updated, it goes very well. Then there is a part of experience. You know how it goes. Do work on a few bullet points that are divided into 2 different areas: key achievements and key roles, and key contributions. I like to divide them always in these 2 parts. So in few bullet points, you see what you did as a main achievement, but then what are the contributions? What the contributions were that you made. It's very important. Also link them to the organization so that your logos can appear here. When it comes to education, of course, it's super important. Licenses and certifications are also super important. When it comes to education, if you have graded with honors, do put it here. It does the trick. If you have volunteering experience, it's very important that you add it also, because this will be extremely valued if you're working in a social sector, or if you're working with organizations that have a strong corporate social responsibility interest. So they would rather go for persons that are value-based, but they're also purpose-based, and they also have volunteering experiences. Do add your skills here and ask persons to endorse you. You can add up to 50 skills, and then you will see also by real-time Mentimeter how much your network values your skills depending on the different areas. Ask persons you work with to provide recommendations. It's absolutely valuable. Valentin, Erasmus, Marius were very good friends of mine, and they did the effort of writing recommendations. Don't be too pushy, but also for first-time seekers, it's extremely important that you have persons, all the more if they were colleagues or if they were direct supervisors who give recommendations if you have applications. Of course, courses, languages, but also interests. Don't forget to follow persons or organizations or groups or schools in general that have a specific relevance for your city. Now, I would like to go back briefly to the heading. Again, there are algorithms that are searching for potential employers like me, access some LinkedIn profiles specifically for employers. We put keywords and we search. Now, how did I get my job? I promised you I would get back to you and tell you the story. I was searching for a job, so I was updating my CV. And I also invested in premium, let's say, features for first time a premium job. I think it's for free even for 1 month or for 2. So in case you're really searching for a job in a specific period, you can upgrade, and for a month or 2, you can be online and you can appear on the top of the list. Luckily, I had already 500 connections. I followed these webinars and I have enriched all these parts, specifically the part about according to just what I just gave you as a hint. And then what I was doing, I was searching online the recommendation that LinkedIn gave me on a specific target. They ask you, are you open? Yes. So which kind of job you would like to receive? And then they send you specific things. And it's in this part, it's called jobs. So you search for jobs, and then it directs you to those jobs. I was looking at those jobs when I was logged in, and the recruiter receives a link. Receives the link to the profiles of all those persons who have watched those advertisements. And then they can assess themselves whether these persons are interested. Doesn't mean that these persons applied. Only the persons looked. And to a certain extent might be even better. Why? Let's say, this game of the, elastic band, let's say, so this person looked at my advertisement, but this person didn't apply. Why they didn't apply? Let me look at their profile. But this person has a very interesting profile. I can send them emails. And this is something that recruiters do. They have a number of mails that they can send to LinkedIn users that are not connected to them. We have, depending on how much you pay, you get 50, 100, or 150, 1,000 or unlimited. And this person were at that time doing the recruitment for AFIL. This person received the European Federation for Intercultural Learning. They saw that I saw the advertisement, but I didn't apply. I was thinking about it. I wasn't sure yet. Then this person looked at my profile, and this person wrote to me and said, we are currently doing a recruitment. These are the details for applying. We are really interested in your profile. Would you please consider applying? You know what? I said, okay, I was considering applying. This person reached out to me. Then it's a sign. Then I will apply. I applied. 3 years after, I'm here in the job. And they received hundreds of applications. So why this whole process happened? It happened for my previous qualifications, but also it happened because I had done a lot of efforts in applying, in updating my profile, because I was on LinkedIn, because I searched for jobs opportunities. I was looking at job opportunities, and I interacted through LinkedIn. So it does work, as it does work sending spontaneous applications. I would like now to open the floor to specific questions. I see that there is one open question in the at least in the Mentimeter, but I also see that might be also some questions in the chat. So the first question that I haven't answered yet is, to whom should we exactly email? It still refers to the previous question about spontaneous applications, to HR, to the head of the company. It really depends. If you are searching for a job in AFIL, my organization, it's 5 employees. So you should send it to me, the Secretary General. If you're searching for an organization which has 50 jobs, which has 50 posts, 50 employees, just send it to the head of human resources if you find it available. So it really depends. If you have an organization, let's say, which is middle-sized, 20, just send it to the head of human resources. This person is indicated in the website. So this is what I would do. It really depends on the site. Now let me look at the chat. Okay. Let me see if there are questions. Sorry, am I showing you the chat in my? Let me close the stop share first. Let me look at the chat. Euro Brussels. Okay, it seems that there are no questions in the chat. They were all different different messages. Maybe there is time now for some of you to ask some questions before we go to the last slide in Mentimeter. And I apologize with you. I really need to leave at 7 because I have a work, another work commitment at a few minutes after 7. Is there any question that you would like to take the chance now to ask before going to the next slide, next and last slide in Mentimeter? Meanwhile, I share with you the screen. So please go again to Mentimeter 37493995. These are the answers that are coming on Mentimeter. And the question is, what will I do immediately after this webinar to optimize my chances of getting a new job? I see one of you answered, update my LinkedIn profile. One said, prepare spontaneous applications. Very good. I will rebuild my LinkedIn page. I will improve my LinkedIn profile and be more active, send spontaneous applications. I will focus on enriching LinkedIn profile. I will update my LinkedIn profile, change my profile on LinkedIn. This seems a message that has come very clearly, and I strongly encourage you to keep doing that. Luigi.
Yes, thank you, Davide. I will surely update my LinkedIn profile after this call as well, because it's a bit of a disaster, I have to say. And thank you for being with us, and thank you for your insights and tips on LinkedIn. And I would just like to remind to anyone else that we are having a second day of Learning Garage tomorrow, starting at 5, with a session on Erasmus soft skills. Then we will proceed with how to build and a CV and a motivation letter. And in the end, we'll close the event with a session on how to prepare for a job interview. I hope you enjoyed the event today, and I'm looking forward to see you tomorrow. And thanks you again, Davide. Thank you for your time, and see you tomorrow, everyone.
Thank
Ciao.
you.